Good morning, beautiful people. Hey, it's been a while. Again, another video. I'll try to make these more regular. I just got an email from YouTube that celebrates 1,000 subscribers, so I thought it'd be appropriate to create another YouTube video to help you guys out, especially those of you building your careers, working in your careers, and that kind of stuff. So today's video is going to be titled Testifying in Courts, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. I've been following that trial. As you guys know, I'm a former police officer, current college professor, and I teach criminal justice courses. And every time I find a video that can help you guys in your career, in your promotion, or doing better at a skill in law enforcement or in life, I will go ahead and share it. So the Kyle Rittenhouse case is a case that started last year in 2020, August 2020, when a few police officers followed an African-American suspect to the car. He was carrying a knife. They told him to stop. He had a warrant for his arrest, and he advanced towards the car, opened the door. Looks like he was reaching for a weapon. The officers opened fire, and unfortunately, the suspect died. That generated a bunch of riots, and I'm giving you the summary version of the case. And then so the riots took place in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And so Kyle Rittenhouse was reported by the news media as this out-of-control juvenile 17-year-old carrying around an AR-15 rifle. And the news media reports that he starts opening fire and killing people at random and so forth. And I was one of those viewers that when I read the story, I thought, okay, this sounds like a domestic terrorist. It sounds like a guy's out of control. And, I hope they get him, type of thing. I hope they arrest him. I hope they convict him, that kind of stuff. But then yesterday, I started watching the trial, and actually it was a closing arguments. The actual, the defendant, in this case, Kyle Rittenhouse, is 18 years old, and he decides to testify on his defense. And by the way, it's rare when a defendant testifies in their defense, because anything they say can be used against them in courts, and they're given up their Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and so forth. But boy, I was impressed by his testimony. And his testimony is similar to what we police officers, law enforcement, peace officers, personnel have to put up with when we get on the stand and we get grilled by the other attorney, right? Why did you do this? How did you do this? When did you do this? Why did you respond the way you responded? Why did you take the action that you took? That kind of stuff. And so this Kyle Rittenhouse, his testimony is very impressive. The guy, even though he was 17 when this thing happened, the story the news media reported is completely skewed. And I know you guys are not surprised, because the media reports all kinds of shit that is inaccurate, false, exaggerated, one-sided. You know what I'm talking about. And so I'm moving the camera because of the sun. But just keep going, or keep listening, because I think you're going to learn from this. And so when I'm listening to his testimony, and I had listened to a summary of the case a while back that was put together by the Times on exactly what happened, but even that summary was skewed. Whoever put it together was against the Second Amendment, didn't really agree on having weapons, that kind of stuff. But I'm going to give you a summary version of what Kyle said. Kyle is not a criminal. He basically is a fire department volunteer, police explorer with a local police department, and he knows about weapons. And in his state, he has someone buy him an AR-15. Why? Because the rule didn't apply to rifles, and AR-15 was one of them. And so when the riots began in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Kyle, whose father, who was divorced from his mother, lives in Kenosha, decides to go over there to see if he can help out. He goes to a car dealership who the rioters burned the entire car dealership. It included 137 cars, and they caused about $2.5 million in damages. Now, that's just one business. And so Kyle is familiar because, he's visited this neighborhood. It's his community, although the news media was reporting, no, the guy lives in a different city what was he doing there? He didn't belong there. This wasn't his issue, and so forth. But anyway, Kyle on the stand testifies that, hey, my dad lives in Kenosha. That's my community. And I knew that car lot that burned down and that family. So he decides to go and talk to the car dealership people. They're totally devastated, right? Not only the car dealership was burned down, but all those fluids from all those cars that blew up leaked onto the ground, and now they're going to have to pay a chemical spill, because of this, right? Don't get me wrong about this video. I don't want you thinking I'm against demonstrating. Demonstrating is perfectly fine. Protesting, peaceful protesting is fine, but there's a huge difference between peaceful protesting and rioting, where they're destroying buildings, they're setting buildings on fire, they're causing injury to property and persons in the process, throwing rocks at the police, throwing fire bombs, that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, but I don't accept any of that. I think that just exceeds what people have a right to do. But anyway, in this case, Kyle decides to go to Kenosha, talk to the dealership owner, who has 2 other dealerships, and he needs help protecting those dealerships. And so Kyle and a group of his friends get their weapons, and they go and go to these dealerships, meet with the owners, and they stand there. Well, during the night, they took a bunch of insults, and one of the guys that had just been released from a mental institution told Kyle straight to his face that if he found him alone, he was going to kill him that night. And Kyle took that as a threat. And fast forward to where the first shooting occurred. Kyle sees that same guy. Kyle gets separated from the group, and he sees that same guy chasing him. And so Kyle turns around and starts running. Well, it's hard for him to run because he has his medic bag, he has his AR-15, he's a bit on the heavy side, and so he's having a tough time. And this guy is gaining on him, and just before the guy gets to him, he picks up a box of something off the ground and throws and hits Kyle in the back of the head. So Kyle turns around. By this time, the guy is on him, and he grabs the barrel of his gun, which happens to be an AR-15. And so Kyle opens fire and shoots him 4 times, and unfortunately the gentleman deceased. But Kyle shot to stop the threat. Why am I so passionate about telling you about this? Because those of you who are current peace officers or police officers or aspire to be police officers, you really should watch the Kyle Rittenhouse testimony, because it really is exactly what peace officers need to do when they get on the stand to explain their actions, right? This was a riot situation where Kyle was surrounded by a bunch of angry protesters. He was there lawfully. The guy had worked for the YMCA. He was laid off. He had no criminal record, never been in trouble with the law, was actually part of an organization. And then you had a prosecutor accuse him of not being a member of the fire department. And he was a police or a fire volunteer. And so here the prosecutor knows he's on national TV, and he's embellishing the fact that, you claim that you're a member of the fire department, but you're not. But he was, and he was a police or a fire department explorer, which is a member of that department. He was issued a shirt, he has equipment, and so forth. Anyway, I can't tell you enough about the testimony. I know that you'll be able to find it on especially the live recordings that are listed on YouTube. You owe it to yourself to watch it, to become informed, to learn about law. Like, why do people respond the way they do? If I have a weapon and someone reaches for my weapon and gets a hold of the weapon, or even before they get a hold of the weapon, I have a right to defend myself because I feel that my life or others' lives are in danger. The reality is, if the suspect would have got a hold of Kyle's weapon, he would have killed him with it, and he would have shot other people. This guy had just gotten released from a mental institution. I mean, I want you to think about that for a second. And so the guy had been released from a mental institution. Again, if you're serious about your law enforcement career, find a site that doesn't have a bunch of commercials. The YouTube, there's going to be a bunch of them trying to get you to start watching it. But find the one that maybe the PBS Live. I think there's one that's a PBS Live video, and you can actually rewind it to the beginning of his testimony. Again, Kyle decides to take the stand. I think he did a phenomenal job. He explained everything as a peace officer would when he or she is put into a dangerous situation and has to use deadly force. Now, those of you watching this video, I know some of you are anti-weapon, and there's nothing I could do to change your mind on not caring about weapons. But the reality is, we are living in America. This is the United States of America, and the Second Amendment allows people to bear arms and to have weapons in their home and to protect their businesses. You look at years ago when they had the LA riots, the Asian community was hit really hard with looting and arson, etc. And they got on top of some of the buildings with weapons to protect the buildings because the police just weren't responding to calls. And in this case, Kyle mentions in his testimony, the fire department was not responding to put out fires. So he had taken a fire extinguisher there. He also had his weapon to protect himself. But it's interesting how the news media totally throws this thing out of whack. Anyway, before I close, at one point, and you got to watch that point for sure, the judge takes the jury out and he scolds the prosecutor for basically going after Kyle for maintaining his right to remain silent, not giving a statement until when he got to court. I got to tell you, as a college professor, that is the wisest advice that an attorney will give you, not to give a statement until you talk to an attorney. That's your right. And the law in this country is that cannot be used against you during the actual trial. It cannot be used that you were decided to evoke your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. So you gotta watch that. I think you'll learn a lot out of it. I'm gonna try to have a class discussion on this, and I'll see what the consensus is on how Kyle did and what are some of the other points. Continue sending me messages on ideas for videos, questions about law enforcement. I'll remind you again, I'm a former background investigator. I worked in law enforcement in a number of positions, doing search warrants, tactical patrol units, bicycle patrol, training officer, canine officer. And so if there's anything on your mind that you basically think, hey, can you do a video on this? Definitely put a heads up on that. One more thing. The things I tell you in this video are my opinion only, based on years and years of law enforcement experience. 27 years to be exact. I know I look younger than I look and than I am, but anyway, I crack myself up sometimes. But do subscribe if you haven't already done so, so when I release a video, you'll get a notification. Please share it with others who may need this help, right? Being a police officer requires you to go testify in court, and testifying in court requires you to be prepared for the questions. Kyle Rittenhouse's testimony and the cross-examination by the prosecution will help the majority of you who are trying to overcome that fear that you have every time you have to go testify in court in many of these cases. In this case, he was being grilled by the prosecutor, but for the majority of you, when you go testify in court, you'll be grilled by the defense attorney. So keep those ideas coming. I love you guys. Please be safe out there. Get your vaccine if you haven't already. Wear your mask, at the minimum, wear your mask, and try to avoid indoor places as the holidays are approaching. People are going to be going indoors and partying, and you know what happens when that happens. They become spreaders. And so anyway, just watching out for you. And I'm going to do another video. Somebody asked me to do a video on should peace officers quit instead of getting the vaccine, and that's a whole nother issue, but I will do a video on my opinion on that coming up. I have it on my list. So please take good care of yourself. If you're in law enforcement, hey, more power to you. Just stay focused. Officer safety, officer safety, officer safety. Please watch the Kyle Rittenhouse testimony, his specific testimony, and then if you're interested, go back on the case and find out how people lied, exaggerated, posted all kinds of stuff, and they were caught on the stand for doing that, which is amazing. People do lie. All right, so thanks for listening. It's gone long enough, and take good care, and we'll see you on the next video.